Okay guys, Waifu Selector here, the only fair human on earth, and I was busy playing Black Myth Wukong, and then doing the video about it, and then playing Star Wars Outlaws, and my review video on that will be out tomorrow. But in between those two games, I also managed some hours on Concord. And I know what you're thinking, Waifu Selector, why? Didn't you get the memo? We all hate Concord. I know, don't worry, I am aware of the memo. That's why this isn't one of my not so famous fair reviews, because I'm not really gonna review this game. I already sorta did that when the beta came out, and the full launch game is more or less the same, except now there are some skins to earn and the extra maps really help also. If you're curious, I'd rate it as a good 7 out of 10 game. It's a weak 7, but to me it does get over that 6.5 line. But if you want to hear what I thought in more detail, go check out the video I put out when the beta was out. The thumbnail looks like this, and I'll place a card at the end of this video so you can go right over to it. But for this video, I'm not gonna bore you with a bunch of what's good and bad and indifferent about the game. I just want to have a little relatively short chat about the reality of Concord. So if you somehow didn't know, Concord was doomed long before it came out. There was a pretty aggressive and frankly kinda odd hate campaign against Concord the moment people knew it was planned to be a multiplayer live service shooter. It's not the first game to receive this reaction, it's not unique for that, but regardless, Concord has gone down like a bag of bricks in the ocean. Why is that? Now spend enough time on the internet and you'll hear a lot of reasons for Concord's failure, but none of them are very true or make a lot of sense. The game plays well, it's a nice enough time, maybe everyone doesn't think so, but that's irrelevant anyway. If you followed this game's chronicle, then you know that everyone decided it was bad before it ever released. So when you hear the character designs aren't good, or the game is just super bad, or it's unoriginal, none of those are in fact the reason for the failure. People play worse games with less originality, worse designs, less ambitions, and far less technically and mechanically sound. Those aren't the reasons. If the game just doesn't strike a chord with you on a personal level, that's fair. But this isn't actually just a horrible game that's doing everything wrong. The actual truth is, there may in fact be no reason, or the reasons are so nonsensical that it amounts to no reason. Let's talk about it, let's investigate. Concord may have always been destined to eventually fail, but it's failing so spectacularly based on nothing but pure happenstance and nonsense. Wrong place, wrong time. And it's fascinating to me because it's true, games media has initiated a crusade to hate and devalue the idea of multiplayer and especially live service, but the crusade is also very selective about its targets. You know, if you pay attention to games media and gaming journalists, you'll probably hear them spout off things about everyone being sick of live service and competitive multiplayer games, and they'll point at Concord and Foam Stars and say, see, look at those. But that's not true, because what about games like The Finals, even X-Defiant, hell, Predecessor hit 2 million players. And I'm not saying these are the most successful games ever, but they opened up in a healthy state. I mean, the beginning of The Finals was very healthy. Interest was certainly there, and I promise you that Marvel Rivals is gonna be sitting pretty when it arrives. Concord is very much as good of a game as The Finals, and it definitely doesn't pale in comparison when it comes to the two games trying to showcase personality. So honestly, Concord playing like shit is ruled out as a reason. It just doesn't make sense comparatively to what people play. Concord has no designs or originality, again, doesn't have a lot of merit given the amount of people who want to play the astonishingly derivative Marvel Rivals. Don't get me wrong, I want to play it too, I'm just saying. And people want to engage with fairly plain looking shooters like X-Defiant. Don't get me wrong, nothing against X-Defiant. So is it simply the media attack, the boomer gamer crusade working? Is that what took out Concord? I don't think so, because we've seen the attack fail. In fact, It failed against X-Defiant. You may not remember, but X-Defiant was being constantly shit on and called complete garbage by media before anyone ever touched it. The crusade to hate it was in full effect. Then they had a closed beta that players really enjoyed. Once people enjoyed it, it didn't matter what the media said. In fact, after a little bit, the media stopped dissing X-Defiant because it became a losing battle. Now, of course, X-Defiant then went on to have to face the same trials that every would-be live service game will have to face, those being retaining your players and staying alive, but they beat the gatekeepers where many have lost. So then you say, Eureka. That must be it. Concord is simply not striking a chord with players on a personal level, despite whatever quality it may boast. And well, I think that's kind of true. I think the $40 up front is a real barrier to entry that doesn't help at all, but I still don't think that is the heart of the issue, because I believe there is a market for this game. There is a demographic who will play and enjoy this, but those people aren't experiencing the game because they don't want to spend $40 on or even try out something that is receiving nothing but horrible press on an even greater scale than X-Defiant was. The thing about X-Defiant is that before their beta, most people, a lot of the gaming world even, didn't even know it existed. With Concord, the gaming world knew, and they knew they should hate it. And that's because it had a bit of a higher profile since it is a big, expensive, first-party PlayStation Studios game. And here is where we arrive at the core of the failure, in my opinion. The reason why every other answer is just accepted, despite there not being much truth. It all stems from the simple notion that we don't want this from you. Yeah, this pretty good, decently fun, competent, technically sound hero shooter that I'd otherwise play, yeah, PlayStation, I don't want this from you. I believe that is where this comes from. That is the sentiment from the players. PlayStation, you make big single-player blockbusters. That's what we want. That's why we keep you around. Now hop to it. I honestly think it's simply a matter of who Concord is coming from, who this game is coming from. Think about the people who really soak up Ubisoft games. You think they're greatly upset and disappointed with the quote-unquote departure that is X-Defiant? No. Seems like a very Ubisoft game to drop. So you can tell someone who's played 15 Assassin's Creeds or whatever and all the Far Cries that they should hate X-Defiant, but they won't. This is not outside the realm of what they are used to receiving from Ubisoft. But Concord for PlayStation, on the other hand, oh, that's very different. And this reminds me a lot of a situation with a little game by the name of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. An actual great game, go watch my review, that was a disastrous failure mainly because that's not what people wanted from Rocksteady. And similarly, a lot of fibs and agenda-based opinions started coming out when the real reason was, we don't want this from you. And I guess I say fair enough. They are an entertainment company trying to sell a product. That means giving the people what they want. And if it isn't what they want, they have the right to reject it regardless of its quality. Personally, I enjoy enough different kinds of games and am open to expanding my horizons in games that I don't reject games immediately when it isn't precisely what I'd hoped for. Although if you want to do that, that is everyone's right. The thing is, when people have this reaction to something like Suicide Squad, I think the thought process is that this was time and money wasted on what could have been another Batman game or something more along those lines. And now we'll have to wait so much longer for what we actually want because Rocksteady chose to do Suicide Squad instead, which sure makes sense. Problem is, I think that exact same thought process is being applied to Concord when the situation is super different. Production on Naughty Dog's new IP or The Last of Us 3 or Santa Monica's new IP or Ghost of Tsushima 2 or whatever in production single player game you're thinking of. Production didn't stop because of Concord. Concord isn't gonna make a new God of War take longer. Those teams are separate. They're doing their own things at the same time. Sony's single-player bread and butter is going nowhere. All they're trying to do is add an additional style of game to their repertoire. And as I keep saying, it is your right to reject it. However, I just think the gaming landscape would be a little better if we rejected things for the right reasons. Anyway though, I guess I'm kinda done. This was fascinating to witness. It does make me wonder if Sony's live service plan can really succeed at all. If it's as simple as no one wants a competitive live service game from them. But Helldivers 2 worked. So maybe the difference is competitive versus co-op. Maybe people aren't willing to accept competitive from PlayStation, but will consider co-op. That could be it. And Sony has at least a few more multiplayer tries in the oven, so they're gonna wanna take every factor into account. But alright, Concord's dying. I found it interesting, mainly because it doesn't deserve to die this way. It can fail, that's fine, but I do feel bad because the game does not warrant this level of failure. I swear, Concord and Black Myth Wukong are like the two sides of the for no fucking reason coin. Why did Wukong almost instantly sell 10 million units? No fucking idea. I was confused about its hype all the way up to release. Don't get me wrong, it looked like a cool game, but nothing remarkable. But everyone reacted like it looked like it was gonna be remarkable. And after playing it, it's really good. It's not remarkable though. Nothing too amazing going on there. Watch my review on that too. Whatever though. Random ass hype, random ass hate. Yin, yang, the world is balanced. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to share your thoughts down in the comments, and I greatly appreciate any likes on the video and especially subscriptions. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell too so you can see every video. Thanks, and until next time, I am Waifu Collector. I'm just a normal guy. I like hentai, and let the record show that I didn't hate Concord. Goodbye.